creative company, and clients hire us for that creative output. But beyond that, we have these practices that I mentioned earlier. Those are really use cases, whether that's a new brand identity or architecture or a campaign or a website or retail experience. Those are all really different outputs. We also work, as most agencies do, across a range of categories and markets, as well as across a range of audiences. So when you think about that puzzle that we have to put together and solve, it's a multi-dimensional one. So we have to create essentially a research stack that allows us to flex between use cases, between audiences, categories, markets, and everything that kind of comprises the mix of business that we have. So this framework is something that I've used, I don't know, for the better part of 10 years probably. And I found it to be really, really helpful, not only in thinking about how problems are solved, and I don't mean necessarily research problems, I mean things that get in the way of us solving problems for our clients, but also internally to socialize what we're doing to executive leadership or to folks who maybe don't have a research and analytics background. And so I call it the 5 Ps, and you can see them here. So people is really the in-house expertise, the proficiency that we have among the agency team. What's really great about this new applied intelligence group within RGA is we've got folks from research, from analytics, from data science, from marketing science, and we're all coming together to serve the organization. So we've got a lot of different perspectives that collectively shed light on problems that are put before us. The second is platforms, and what I really mean here is the technology and software that powers the creation of insights and analytics. That's where we've seen a tremendous amount of innovation in the last 5+ years that I think has enabled us to do more efficiently, both in terms of cost and time. Partnerships is the next one. So the way that I think about it or treat this inside RGA is that it's companies that and individuals that feel specific aspects of a project. You know, a very kind of straightforward one is if we need to do qual research in a market where I don't have any native speakers because perhaps RGA doesn't have a presence, I have to rely on a partner for that. It's how we partner with NewtonX on sourcing B2B respondents for some of those really challenging audiences to recruit. The fourth is process. And the thing about working in a creative company is sometimes people in creative companies have an allergic reaction to process. It's not sort of, I think something that's a natural, comfort zone for folks in creative companies. But if you apply process right, it actually liberates the teams to focus on the creative thing. So, what I mean here is really our internal process, how we operate internally, but also operate with our internal stakeholders, and then the processes that we use for clients. That's critically important in B2B for the reason I mentioned earlier, which is it becomes really, really critical to define what the audience is, to define those parameters, to ensure that we're talking to the right people and that we're representing the market the right way. So if you don't have that kind of process in place, I find it becomes a lot more difficult and time consuming to do that. And then the last is what I call products, and that should probably be in quotes, because I don't mean products in a kind of conventional market research product sense. What I mean are repeatable approaches and methodologies rooted in some kind of special RGA IP that are focused on inspiring strategic and creative work. So, maybe a orthogonal definition of what product means. But the idea there is, we work with hundreds of folks across the network, and sometimes teams will come together where individuals haven't really worked together before. That's part of the magic of what happens inside of a creative agency, I think. But part of that too is they need to understand what they're getting from us. They need to have, their expectations need to be clear. We need to operate at a level of consistency. Because if everything starts with a blank sheet of paper every time, it just kind of creates unnecessary chaos. So that's the thing we're really focused on right now in this iteration is really formalizing that product approach. What are the slate of products? How do they align to the different phases of the project? And what we're finding is socializing that within our stakeholders internally is going a really far way to ease some of that friction that invariably will come up over the course of projects.